The following is a presentation of the TNH Podcast Network.
You're here to play some basketball. Can you do that,
please? I'm here to make some money, so I really needed them to win.
Yeah.
I'm so upset. It's okay. I tried to be ballsy. I don't know. I don't think this year is going to be a good tournament for upsets and Cinderella runs. Yeah, I had Yale, Belmont, St. Mary's in the Sweet 16. What the hell was I on?
What is good, everyone? Welcome to the fourth episode of the Hoopcats podcast on the TNH Podcast Network. My name is Sam Eggert, and I'm back here with the gang, Yanni and Matt Erb. Boys, say what's up.
How we doing today?
Good morning.
And today we will be doing our March Madness edition of the podcast, something that strikes home with our very own Yanni Kokoris. I guess the first question we got to ask is, how are your brackets doing so far?
See, here's my thing. I truly believe I am too knowledgeable at college basketball to make a bracket. I know too much about college basketball that I overthink everything that I do, and I just get everything wrong.
Answer the question, did you make a bracket?
I've got two, and I'm going to say this. They're not good to start because I'm the kind of guy who likes to switch it up a little bit. I want to be different. Let's put it that way. I want to be different. I'm not going to be the guy who picks the upsets that everyone picks. I'm not going to be the guy that has the same winner as everyone, even though my Dukies are going to win it all. I did take them. But I'm not going to be the guy that has the same Final Four as everybody. That always comes back to nip me in the butt, and it's just like I had gas station sushi last night. This thing is 16 games in, and I already am over the toilet throwing this thing away.
What's your Final Four?
So in this bracket that I like, I got Duke, Texas Tech, Tennessee, and my surprise team coming out of the Midwest is Houston.
I love Houston.
Bunch of experience.
I love Houston.
Bunch of experience. I think they're arguably the most tournament-ready team out of everyone. We'll see it tonight. I think they're going to be impressive. I'm not going to lie.
I look at Houston and, they've got skill players and whatnot, but they've got this. I said it in my column in the New Hampshire this week. They play Marcus Smart style basketball. Just a bunch of scrappers who will dive for every ball left and right. They will fight you to the end. They are just a physical, defensive team with an unbelievable amount of energy.
One of the things that I like to look at is desire to win. How much desire do you have to win a game in the NCAA tournament? Because that will put you ahead of everyone else. Duke this year, compared to other years, has way more desire to win. Zion wants to win every single game he steps on the court. And obviously everyone does, but he's an animal. No words against it. He's an animal. This Houston team has not obviously the same athletic ability as Zion, but they have the same desire to win. And I think the game that is going to be great to watch is Carolina-Houston in the Elite Eight, if that happens. You got champions on the North Carolina team against some of them, I think, arguably the most experienced team in Houston. And I think that would be a intense game to watch.
So you have Houston beating Kentucky?
I do, especially the injuries that they're going through. I just don't think Kentucky's got it this year. They just don't strike me as the team that the Cat 38-0 lost Final Four team.
Yeah, they're not the same, but you can't really count out any John Calipari team.
Never. All those guys are going to make runs, and it's just interesting to see. I love the field this year.
Another thing, I know they spanked around Abilene Christian, another Wildcat team, but I think, granted that they beat that team that badly, and I know that P.J. Washington has his injury, but they still have Keldon Johnson, who's still a really good player. So
Travis Reed, all those guys can play. No words against it. But
and also, Washington's not out for the whole tournament. They had him missing this game. He might miss the next round or something like that, but he should be back later on.
Yeah, I saw a picture of him in a cast with one of those wheelie leg up machines.
Ooh, that's not something you want to see.
Not something you want to see if you're a Kentucky fan.
No.
So they're going up against a tough Wofford team that everyone thought they were going to get blown out by Seton Hall, and look what happened.
I had Wofford winning
at the end of that game. Yeah,
I like Wofford a lot. There's a reason Wofford went 30-4 this year. They have a lot of really, really, really good players. Rather white shooters, i.e. Nathan Hoover and Fletcher McGee. These guys, you give them an inch of space, and they will shoot their threes, and they will take threes. Nathan Hoover went something like 6 for 12 from 3 last night.
Yeah, something absurd.
Yeah, and then you saw it. Once Seton Hall kind of faltered towards the end of the second half, and Wofford really went on that huge run. I mean, you saw what those guys are capable of. Now, Matt, how's your tournament looking?
Yeah, there's not a lot I can add after that soliloquy from both of you. I do agree with the Houston point, absolutely. I'm usually a big fan of Kentucky basketball, especially the De'Aaron Fox year. but I'm going with Houston especially, and I have them in the Elite Eight with North Carolina. But I know you hate North Carolina and Roy Williams, but Roy Williams, I can't just bet against Roy Williams in the Elite Eight. His resume is just too impressive.
You look at like Williams, Krzyzewski, and Calipari. I think those are the three coaches that like you really can never count them out in the tournament.
I say Tom Izzo's also in that conversation occasionally, but those three are secured. The top three coaches you can't count out.
Where do you guys have Michigan going this year?
I thought that Nevada would show up in this tournament with the Martin twins. I thought they would put up a dominating win against Florida, and I thought they'd give Michigan a run for their money and beat Michigan in the round of 32. That didn't happen, and now Michigan's got a matchup against a good Florida team. Honestly, I think they could win that, but my team out of the West is Texas Tech. I don't think Michigan has what it takes to beat Jarrett Culver and the boys.
Yeah, Culver's really good. I think Texas Tech is the only team that makes me really nervous about beating Michigan in the West because I have Michigan going to the Final Four out of the West, actually.
Yep.
I have them beating Florida next round, and then I've been facing Texas Tech, which I think is going to be a really close game, and I think that they're going to win. I mean, I just look at the Michigan team, and I think depth is where they beat a lot of guys because their whole starting five, whether it be Matthews, Brasdeikis, Poole, I mean, these guys all... Like, obviously, they're good players, but they've got, like, something to them. You know, they've got
Correct.
that it factor. Like, especially Brasdeikis, he's a guy who kind of goes under the radar sometimes because he's got to be one of the most hated players in college basketball. He's just one of those guys that you can tell he gets under his opponent's skin.
Yes.
And whatnot. And I think that has a really big effect and makes him just, like, a really tough player. And, like, you could say the same thing about Teskey because they're just guys who will, like, get the crowd going. They'll celebrate you when they're 2 for 10 from the field and they make a little layup and they'll go crazy. They'll yell in the face of the other team, you know, stuff like I do in the volleyball court.
If Teskey's not Mo Wagner's twin little brother, I don't know what kind of doppelganger he is because those two you could put side by side, and I had many comments yesterday saying, "Oh, Mo Wagner stayed for college? No, Mo Wagner's in the NBA, boys."
Mo Wagner might as well have stayed for college,
Yes.
though.
Now, Yanni, where did you say you had Texas Tech in your bracket?
Texas Tech is my Final Four team, and this is a question I have for you. What kind of trust did you put in Gonzaga? Because I was looking at your bracket. You're a big Gonzaga guy, and I get Gonzaga beat Duke early in the season. I get that Gonzaga put the hurting on I don't even remember what team they played last night, but
Fairleigh Dickinson.
they go to conference schedule and they play preschool basketball. What kind of trust can you put in a team like that?
Yeah, well, it's no secret that West basketball is not as they're not playing as tough teams as UNC, Duke out in the ACC. But I really think I think Gonzaga was in the finals last year, right? Am I remembering that correctly against Nova? And I think this year,
Michigan.
No, it was Michigan.
They played Carolina in the finals 2 years ago.
that's what I'm remembering. I just think they're going into this tournament with a lot of confidence, being one of the only teams to have beaten Duke, if not the only team that beat Duke with a healthy Zion Williamson. So I think, especially since they're playing Duke right before the championship game, I think once they beat Duke, they can beat any team, and they're going to go in with tremendous confidence.
Yeah, a big reason why I like Gonzaga too, maybe not to the same extent as you, but because obviously they have Hachimura, who everybody knows about, but Brandon Clark has developed into one of the best wing defenders in the entire country. And he had a broken jump shot in his years at San Diego State, which was a very apparent thing, and then all of a sudden he comes to Gonzaga. I'm not saying he's a great shooter, but he can put the ball in the bucket. And I see him flying up draft boards, and I think he's going to have a very, very big impact on this tournament if Gonzaga does well.
I called the Murray State Marquette game. I had confidence in whatever.
As did I.
Yeah, I think Murray State was the pretty obvious choice there. But I also obviously had Florida State beating Vermont, and then I have Gonzaga beating, which was Syracuse, but now Baylor, and then I have Florida State beating Murray State. But where I'm going with is that I think I'm a little concerned because Florida State's been plays some really good basketball sometimes, and I think that's another team that's going in with tremendous confidence, making the finals in their tournament too. So I think Florida State will give Gonzaga a run for their money, but again, I'm not seeing until Duke. I'm not seeing a tough road for Gonzaga at that point. Besides Florida State.
Yeah. So you guys haven't asked me about my bracket yet.
Would love to hear it, my friend.
Oh, you want to hear about my bracket?
Would love to.
Do you guys have any guess to how I'm doing?
I believe, if I remember correctly, you said that one of your brackets, out of 4 of them, you made 4, was perfect except for the Syracuse game, which I think was not a lot of people could have, unless they got lucky, they made the guess. But I think a lot of people expected Syracuse to win.
That is correct, my friend. I have gotten all of my picks right, except for the Syracuse game. And I'm feeling pretty damn confident, especially based on how well the upset teams I picked beat down their opponents, i.e. Murray State kind of beating Marquette pretty good. And I had Florida looking really good against Nevada. I mean, like, you want to bet money on the college tournament, you come to me. I think it's that simple. I've proved myself. Maybe it's a little bit early for me to say that, but
You definitely had a good day, but my first rule in March Madness college basketball brackets is never judge your bracket by your first day. It is the biggest mistake you can make. Points come at the later rounds. You don't win brackets on the first day. That's all I'm going to say.
you don't win brackets on the first day, but you sure as hell lose brackets on the first day.
You know, you keep saying you keep talking about the money, but I don't remember you entering into Yanni's tournament thing where you could win up to $1,200. Well, I guess exactly $1,200.
Yeah,
I'll
admit I wasn't confident going into the tournament, and I just felt like there's so many people entering this thing, and it's only so likely that I actually win. So I was like, do I really want to do this? And I decided not to. And I just filled out 3 brackets on the CBS Sports app for myself, and then I did one with the New Hampshire, which is not going as well, but we don't really need to talk about that one.
There you go.
Matt is looking at it right now. He can probably tell you guys better than me because I haven't been paying attention to it.
You know, I'm not mad because I'm looking at it right now. I'm not mad that you picked Yale over LSU because I did that too. And I'm not mad that you picked Louisville over Minnesota because that was a 50-50, I think. But I'm a little disappointed that you expected Florida State to lose over Vermont.
Yeah,
I
can explain that one.
How good Vermont is. Florida State's going to be better with the way they've been playing.
I can explain that one. I don't know what was going through my head, but I've somehow confused Florida State for UCF. I don't know what I was thinking. I've never liked UCF as a team. I don't think that they're that good, and I just got that wrong. I don't know what else to say. Although they did play them well, it was only like a 4-point win for FSU, so I can't really complain about that, or a 7-point win, rather. But either way, I want to talk about this Yale versus LSU game for a little bit because I think we saw like a lot of NBA prospects in this game that people might not know about. The main guys that I'm talking about are Naz Reid from LSU, who's a 6'10" power forward who has probably 250 pounds on him. He's athletic. He's a gamer. The decision making could be a lot better. He had 5 turnovers last night, but they still got the win. But what I like about him most is that he's a good 3-point shooter, legitimately good one. He also has great hair. Not to mention.
Fantastic.
But I think that he's a guy who could really see like being a top 15 pick and then having an impact immediately in the NBA because there's a high demand for bigs that can shoot, and he fits the bill through and through.
See, I love Naz Reid on this LSU team. I think this LSU team, if they were not in Duke's region, I think they're a Final Four team. I think they have guys at every position. Tremont Waters is absurd at the point guard position. He shoots the ball extremely well, even though he didn't have such a good day from 3 yesterday. Naz Reid can play. Bigby Williams can play. These guys aren't that deep. They only go 8 guys, but they can beat anyone up to Duke in that region.
Yeah, another thing I like about them is they got guys like Skylar Mason, and who's a good shooter all around. He's shooting 43% from the field, 86% from free throw, which is big in the tournament because games always come down to free throws, as we saw with the New Mexico State game. And like these guys, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers. Mays went 7 of 8 from the line. Waters went 4 of 4. Taylor 2 for 2, Reed 3 of 5. Bigby Williams went 2 for 6, but I don't know. He's a forward. He's a big guy. You don't really expect him to shoot. And he's also shooting 64% from the field, so it's hard to complain about that. But you guys see what I'm saying.
To all the people who took Yale, I just have a quick question. Did you really think that these Yale kids wanted to miss any more classes by playing more basketball games?
Oh, come on now. That's just unfair. To Sam's point about the 6'10" guy, remember, as we know from volleyball, you can't teach height. So I like this guy who's 6'10" and can shoot, and I believe you. But the reason I picked Yale over LSU because I didn't trust the LSU because LSU basically has no coach right now. So I didn't. I know they did well in their tournament, but I had a feeling. I had this gut feeling that this is when they're going to crash, and I just didn't think they would be able to handle the pressure with their main coach.
Coach is not on the floor. That's my take. The coach isn't the one winning championships. I mean, you got the guys who are the top heads of the league, but you think LSU is obviously flustered by their coach leaving, but do you really think that those guys aren't going to show up in the NCAA tournament? I don't think it's possible for them not to.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a pick not in my favor for sure, but I just sometimes as you well know with your bracket, sometimes you got to make the guess. And I did a little research. I did watch a couple of ESPN videos with their bracket experts, and a few of them picked Yale over LSU because of that exact reason. So I thought I could go with it, and they only lost by 5 points. So I was close. I think during the first half they were they were down by quite a bit, so they came back a little. But I just think it was if I went with LSU, my bracket would basically be perfect besides the Syracuse one.
Yeah, I had Yale winning in a lot of my brackets, not my good one, but my reasoning for picking Yale is because I read a lengthy article on Mie Oni, their junior guard from, I don't remember where he's from Northridge, California. And he's just a really, really legit NBA prospect. You know, he's a good shooter. He's a good defender. He's a very smart player. He's just an all-around team player is how I describe him. He's the kind of guy who never really goes into a play saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He's a read and react type player similar to he's kind of tough to compare him to anybody because he's just a very, malleable player who can adjust to certain situations and do things when needed. And he shoots well from the field at 44%. He shoots well from free throws, 80%. He's averaging 17 points per game this year. You know, he's averaging, how many assists? Where is it? 3.5 assists. Not bad. I don't know. I thought he was a good player. I might have got overhyped having read that article right before I made my picks. But right now we have a special guest on the podcast. He is here to talk about his bracket, which did not go as well as mine and Matt's. He's more similar to Yanni in this phase. But I welcome on managing editor of the New Hampshire, Ian Lenahan. Ian, how are you?
I'm good, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of just lied to you. I could be doing a little better. I had Marquette in the Final Four.
Oh, don't even get me started on Marquette.
That was honestly quite stupid of me. I was really, really thinking whoever won that game was going to make a bit of a run. I thought whoever wins that game was going to knock off Gonzaga. I don't know. I'm very upset. I cried for a few hours last night. It's okay, though. It's fine.
Yeah, you know Dwayne Wade's not on Marquette anymore. Do you know that? And Jimmy Butler left also?
Well, Marcus Howard was supposed to be Jesus Christ reincarnated. And I guess he broke his wrist, or not broke it, but there's something up with it.
His left wrist is hurt, even though he said before the game, good thing I don't shoot with my left wrist. But
yeah, good thing.
Yeah. He's still balled out, but the non-Marcus Howard Marquette players, how about showing up? That'd be fun. Like you're here to play some basketball. Can you do that?
Yeah,
please?
I'm here to make some money, so I really, really needed them to win.
Yeah.
I'm so upset. It's okay.
Yeah, and then you also had Belmont in the Sweet 16. You want to explain that one to us?
Not at all. No, I really don't understand why. I tried to be ballsy. I don't know. I don't think this year is going to be a good tournament for upsets and Cinderella runs. Yeah, I had Yale, Belmont, St. Mary's in the Sweet 16. What the hell was I on?
Was Ben Strawbridge making your bracket? Ben Strawbridge had Fairleigh
dude.
Dickinson winning the entire thing. I'm as speechless as you guys. I think, is Ben in here?
You know, usually you pick a team like that because maybe you know someone, you have a friend. You're like, I want them to do well, but he said he didn't even have he doesn't knows anyone there. And that's ballsy.
He likes to root for the underdog, I guess. But UMBC was like the first 16 seed ever. Am I right to win?
Correct. No 16 seed had ever won a NCAA tournament game against a 1 seed until last year.
Strawbridge loves an underdog.
Ben sees Fairleigh Dickinson, which he refers to as F. Dickinson. He doesn't even know what the first name is. And he's like, I know it. They're going to the finals. Nobody's stopping them. Like, let's see, who do they have to beat to get there? Fairleigh Dickinson, they're spanking Gonzaga. Syracuse or Baylor, kill them. Murray State, Gonzo. Florida State, no chance. Michigan, no chance. Duke, forget about
Texas
it. Fairleigh
Tech.
Dickinson all the way.
Fairleigh Dickinson would be 100-point favorites in that game. Are you kidding me? But I do credit you for the Belmont pick. Belmont should have won that game. I hate Maryland. Belmont should have won that game behind Dylan Windler's 35 points.
Yeah, I really thought Belmont could win, especially playing in the first four. Teams coming in with momentum. I think it was Andy Enfield's USC team last year or 2 years ago. I don't even remember, but I think they made a little bit of a run, and they were in that first four. So I kind of thought I could compare it to that, but it's a year-by-year thing, so I don't know why I did it.
Yeah,
Sad.
my thought process with the Belmont-Maryland game, it all surrounded around Bruno Fernando because Belmont doesn't have any bigs that can match up with the 6'11", 250-pounder who can also shoot from not really three, but really from mid-range. He can stretch the floor a little bit. So I thought he was just looking to be too much for Belmont to handle. Obviously, Windler had a great game, but I don't think it was enough.
Ian, can I hear the rest of your Final Four?
It's practical. It's Marquette gone, Duke, Tennessee, and North Carolina. I have Duke and North Carolina in the ship. North Carolina wins it 70-66.
I love the idea of a Duke UNC. It just seems too good to be true. It really does. I just don't. I think one of them's gonna be. I think Duke's gonna lose to Gonzaga. I have Gonzaga winning the whole thing. I think this is the year Gonzaga can pull it off.
I would love to see that.
I think this is like I think they're going into the tournament with so much confidence, and I think since they're the only team to beat Duke with a healthy Zion, I think that gives them the best odds against Duke.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are talking or if you've talked about it at all, but I've been saying to a bunch of people, I think Virginia this year actually could do very, very well because everybody's been on them for the past couple of years now. They always have an early exit.
You know, that brings up a good point, and I have a question for all of you. Who will be the first number 1 seed to fall in your? It doesn't have to be with your bracket. It doesn't have to be a certain bracket. It can just be your guess if you need to be. I'm actually going to go with Virginia. I think I just don't have faith in them in the clutch moments. So I would think Virginia. I have Virginia losing to Tennessee. I think Tennessee will make a run.
Out of these four, I would say it's Virginia too, but I mean, you never know. You never know until it happens.
Never root for baby blue. It's the worst color in the country. I'm sorry, but they have the hardest 1 through 4. They're not going to make it out of that region, and they will be the first one to fall.
Yeah, I have UNC actually losing to Washington in the second round. Matisse Thybulle, you guys know about him. He's a very good player. Yep. I think he's going to be a impact in that game.
Watch out tonight. UNC's going down. Number 2, 16 seed.
Iona.
Yeah, Iona. Yeah.
Iona.
Do not sleep on them.
UNH women's lax beat Iona this week. So, hey, maybe that's helping them.
You ever heard of something called momentum? They're taking it right into the tournament.
Yeah, their momentum after losing a women's lacrosse game. That's 100% going to fall into
It's called motivation.
Hey, who knows? Maybe the women's lax team and the men's basketball team are really close at Iona. We don't go there. We don't know.
Yeah, well, isn't the women's lax team here, good, and the basketball team here not so good?
Don't even get me started on our men's basketball team. I don't know if any of the players listen to this, and if they do, frankly, I don't care, because they are the biggest embarrassment to the school of anything that has ever happened before. I think that the men's basketball team at UNH is probably more embarrassing than the gross, fish that they serve at Hoco sometimes that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot fork.
And it's a shame because I know Luke Rosinski. I know his dad. Dad was the coach where I went to high school, and I've heard such a nice kid, and it's a shame.
I'm sure he's a nice guy.
I thought I guess I overvalued his skill because he's, when you're playing against high schoolers, you look a lot better. But yeah, it's really a shame what's your exact record? Do you know off the top of your head?
It was 5 wins or something.
They had 5 wins. I'm pretty sure they were 5-29.
Yeah.
Wow.
Embarrassing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, they're a joke.
Can you imagine them against any one of these teams that you've watched on national television? Can you imagine that?
If there were to be a 100-0 game in Division I basketball, UNH would be part of it.
No, not to get too off topic here, but you go to those games. Is it their defense? Is it their offense? Or is it everything?
I do not go to those games.
Oh, you?
I cover the hockey team.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's just they're not a good shooting team or they're poorly coached.
I read every article about their team, but yeah. So the problem, a lot of it falls back on the coach, Bill Harrion, who I think has to go, because he is what we call a yeller, which I've heard from multiple athletes in the field house, not only on the basketball team, and it's really just not a good environment, and there's no cohesion to this team, and they'll go on droughts where they're scoreless for 9 minutes at a time, which has happened many a time throughout this season. And looking at their schedule, they've had 2 losing streaks of 11-plus games. They've lost, I'm just going to read it out. I'm looking at it right now. They lost to American 44-68. They lost to BU 82-53. They lost to Seton Hall 77-57. They lost to Marist, who I don't even know if they're D1, 58-49. They got killed by Stony Brook 62-44. Hartford scored 74 points on them. Matt, do you want to guess how many points UNH scored? Over under 40.
I think I have to go with the under.
Yeah, 39. They scored 42 points against Albany. They scored 44 points in a loss to UVM. They lost to Hartford again, 70-50. I mean, they're embarrassing. I'm honestly, when I tell people from home that I go to UNH, I get embarrassed because the basketball team is so unbelievably bad, and it's just like.
Could Ja Morant beat these guys 1-on-5?
All right, it's a yes. But asking that question is like asking if we're inside of a building right now. Like,
True.
yes, we're inside a building.
True.
Yes, Ja Morant, the second best player in the country, would beat UNH 1-on-5.
Now, I'm sorry this is random, but I have a little question, basketball debate for the people in the room. Ian, you can answer it really quickly before you head out. Who wins this basketball game? 35 decent high school basketball players on the court at the same time versus LeBron James and Kevin Durant.
You know what I'm kind of picturing is when Klay Thompson and Steph Curry went to China a couple years ago, and they played against I think it was 100 little kids or something.
Yes, because this debate was sparked from the video of, this is unrelated, but the video of the two Asian soccer players playing against 150 kids on the soccer field. So this was sparked from that.
I would say it's kind of close. Not kind of close, but decently close. I would say KD and LeBron pulled off, though. Yeah.
You said high schoolers? Or
Decent high school.
Decent
high
So are we
schoolers.
talking about you?
We're talking about,
because you're a decent high school player.
I would call myself decent, but me and maybe even a little better.
Okay. Well, if you're saying 35 of them, it's kind of hard to beat. So all I have to do is, put that's 17 guys on one person. I know Kevin Durant can shoot over everyone, but he's a great shooter. He's not perfect. So I'd probably have to go with because we're talking about high school. We're not talking about elementary kids. So I'm going with the high schoolers on that one.
Could he even move? Could he even move on the court?
I think all you have to do. I think it would be hard. I think they got to make their shots. I know how much you two hate LeBron, so I'm sure you'd predict him missing every shot.
Are there refs?
There are refs. Yes,
there's going to be a foul on every play. KD's not going to miss a free throw. LeBron's going to miss 60% of his free throws. Still, I think that'll be enough because there's going to be a foul on every single play.
This debate was so heated, and I lost because everyone else took KD and LeBron. So I just had to bring this up and let everyone know that they would not beat 35 decent high school basketball players. Can you imagine 35 people on one court? And that's absurd.
I cannot. Ian, thank you for coming on the pod today. Hopefully we'll hear from you again.
Thank you, boys. Hoopcats forever. I've been a long-time listener. It's fun first time contributing, though. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. And
therapy.
See you in therapy. That's Ian Lenahan, the managing editor from the New Hampshire. He is a big sports fan. He knows a decent amount, not as much as me. I'm joking. But either way, let's continue with the pod. Let's talk a little bit about the second best player in the country who we just mentioned a little bit, Ja Morant. He put up a triple-double last night. It was one of 4 in, I think, the past 15 years or something like that. It was the first one since, Chris Webber or something like that, which is crazy. He's the real deal. I think that's pretty clear. How far do you see him taking Murray State this year?
Ja Morant was in the spotlight for the first time in this year. A lot of people have seen his highlights. A lot of people have known what he could do. But nobody thought that on the biggest stage in America, it's Christmas and everything else combined on this day, that he would record a triple-double. This is the first triple-double in the NCAA tournament since Draymond Green at Michigan State.
Oh, Draymond Green, you're right. Yeah.
Yes. It's been that long. And this kid might have the best game to translate to the NBA out of all the draft prospects. Zion's the most athletic, but Ja Morant might have the best NBA potential and skill translation that I have seen so far.
Yeah, this kid is truly special. I actually have him going second in the draft. I think he's going to go ahead over R.J. Barrett, which is, I think, was a few weeks ago was pretty.
That was the consensus. Yeah,
that he would go second. But I have Murray Murray playing Florida State next, and this kid is truly special. That triple double is nothing to laugh at. It's a lot harder to do in college than it is in the NBA. But man, I don't think one person can. I don't. He's great, but he's not that good to beat a whole Florida State team. So I think Florida State as a team is better than.
But I think if any 10+ seed is to go far in the tournament, I think we can all agree
it's going to be that one for sure.
Yeah.
Just because of what his ability and what he is able to do, solely because of that, he makes his teammates better. He dominates on the court himself. I mean, Marquette tried multiple things to stop this guy. They were throwing 2 guys at him. He would find the open guy every single time. They would guard him one-on-one. He hit that insane step back to end the half.
Beautiful.
Absurd. This kid does what he has to do to win, and that's why this is a team that can go far.
Call me crazy, but like, I'm seeing a taller, dunkable version of Chris Paul in John Morant. That's my NBA comp. Because Chris Paul is the kind of player where no matter where he is on the floor, he'll find the right thing to do with the basketball, and that's what it looked like Morant was doing last night, and that's what he's been doing the entire season.
17, 16, and 11. If you can't tell me whose stat line that is in the NBA, you're just uncultured.
That's LeBron's stat line.
That is a Russell Westbrook stat line.
Russell Westbrook. Okay.
Russell Westbrook stat line. This is the second coming of Russell Westbrook. Be ready for this kid.
That's 16 rebounds, right?
Assists.
Assists,
16
okay,
assists.
yeah.
Still.
And I'm sure I can say with confidence he's a better shooter than Russell Westbrook, too. So if he's just as aggressive, which is I know it's hard to do to be more aggressive than a Russell Westbrook, or just even as aggressive, this kid will truly be something good in the NBA. Anyone know how tall he is off the top of your head?
He's 6'3".
Okay, so that's decent guard size. That's Steph Curry size. So, and I think Russell Westbrook's like 6'4". So thinking about Steph Curry size. So I mean, I think he'll do really well.
Yeah, he's got a lot more up and down vertical athleticism than guys like Curry and Paul, which I think gives him advantage over those two, so to speak. But obviously, like Curry and Paul are two of the best point guards we have ever seen play basketball.
It's going to be fun to watch him at the next level. I think he will be a star.
Yeah, I concur.
I think our consensus here is Zion's the number 1 pick, correct?
Yeah, no doubt.
Ja at number 2. Who fills out the rest of your top 5?
I'd probably definitely put Barrett at 3. The next player that comes to mind is Cam Reddish. I think he's just overshadowed by the two of them. So I think he's going to go definitely in the top 10, but I think he'll probably go closer to 6 or 7.
Matt, who do you like more, Reddish or DeAndre Hunter from Virginia?
As players, shooters, or just in general?
In general. As a shooter, I think it's obvious that it's Reddish.
Yeah.
But I think Hunter's the best defensive player in the country.
I think most of this. I think Zion's the consensus because he's Showtime. He's like people like gonna want no matter where he goes, whether it's the Knicks, Suns, wherever.
He's selling tickets.
They're selling tickets. So I think that's the big reason why he's undeniably the number 1 pick. I think it will depend on what the team needs. That's why last year people were saying, why didn't the Suns pick Luka Doncic? I think that they needed a center. The Suns need a center, so I think it'll depend. If the team needs a good, not necessarily a catch and shoot, but someone who can shoot the ball well enough, they're going to go with Cam Reddish for sure.
I have to disagree with you on this one because I agree. Like Reddish is a better shooter than Hunter, but Hunter's no slouch. Hunter can shoot pretty well. He's also, bar none, the best defensive player in the draft. And 3-and-D is a hot commodity in today's NBA. Guys like Robert Covington, Joe Harris, things like that.
Klay Thompson, Trevor Ariza.
Exactly, and Hunter fits the bill, if not more, because he's the kind of guy who you can put on the opposing team's best wing player, and not to say he'll be locking guys down his first year in the NBA, but there's the potential is certainly there, and I think that he should be considered for that 4th pick after Zion, Ja, and RJ. I think it's really like for the next tier after those 3, I'd say it goes Hunter, Roy Hachimura. I'd pair those 2 together, and then my next tier would be Reddish, Keldon Johnson, and Kobe White. Kobe White's a player I actually want to talk about a little bit. What do you guys?
I thought he's the point guard at UNC, right?
Yeah, big.
Yeah, you think he's going that early?
I think
early in the top 10, top 15.
Earlier in the season, I never really thought about him being that high of a draft pick, but based on his play down the stretch where UNC really was hard to beat and they beat a lot of good teams, I think that he's proven himself to be a very legitimate prospect. And he also has the size and athleticism to match it.
See, I hate anything that has to do with Carolina players, but Kobe White can shoot the ball at a tremendous clip, which is putting him ahead of a lot of other people in the point guard position. But someone I want to talk about who is shooting up draft boards that no one really knows is Darius Garland from Vanderbilt.
Garland's nasty.
He's not having numbers-wise the craziest season, but because Vanderbilt obviously is struggling, but he's going to be a lottery pick in my opinion. He has potential to crack the top 5.
Yeah, speaking of which, Vanderbilt fired their coach today.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
You can't go 9-23 and not expect it.
And they have talent on their roster.
Correct. I think Darius Garland has a chance to crack the top 5 with the way he's been playing, with the way Cam Reddish hasn't been performing as well. Nasir Little was a top 5 projected pick at the beginning of the season.
But he's been out.
He's been awful.
Yeah.
You can't be a bench player on a college basketball team and expect to be picked in the lottery. That's just my opinion.
But if anybody were to do it, I mean, Little has the intangibles. I think we can all agree on that. Like, he proved himself as, like, probably the best high school, or not, well, obviously there's Williamson, but he's a top 3 high school player in the country coming out of his class. And I don't know. I think the potential's still there. I see him going 10 to 15 range. But, yeah, he's overhyped, but I think he's still pretty good. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. And then one of my favorite players in college basketball, I've mentioned him today, Jarrett Culver. I think he has a chance to obviously be a lottery pick and crack the top 5 as well. So if I had to choose my top 5, Zion, Ja, RJ, Darius Garland, and Jarrett Culver.
I would pretty much have to agree with that. But that comes to the next point of, if Zion's going number 1, where do you want him to go? Where do you think he'll go? Because there was a thing from Tracy McGrady yesterday on The Jump where he said that he has a source that Zion doesn't want to play in a big market like New York. So not that he has a choice, but I mean, but if Zion had the perfect world, he'd rather go to Cleveland or a
Put him alongside.
Phoenix.
Put him alongside John Collins in Atlanta. How about that? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I personally would love to see him in Atlanta. I think it would work really well.
If he goes to Atlanta, is Atlanta a playoff team next year?
I think they're well, think about it. The 8th seed right now is, I think, either Orlando or
Detroit.
Detroit's 6.
Oh, did Detroit move up to 6?
Yeah, the Nets are 7.
Oh, it's Orlando or Miami?
Yeah, I think it's Miami. You're right.
Yeah.
So I think they can be. I think with if Trayon keeps up the way he's playing, John Collins doing excellent. I think that they have an actual
Kevin
shot.
Huerter?
Yep, I think they have an actual shot of being an 8th seed. I think with New York or Phoenix or Cleveland or Chicago, these are just so poorly run organizations that I think they're going to butcher Zion, and they're not going to. Like, the Suns should be. I know it's the West. They should be a lot better than what they're doing now.
Do you think there's a chance that Zion says, no, I won't play here if he goes to a team like the Knicks or the Suns?
Yeah, no. I just that would be such a bad look for him. I personally didn't even know he had that.
Kobe
choice.
did that. There's a lot of guys that did that.
Yeah,
Lonzo Ball said he would only play for the Lakers, which is one of the
LeVar.
reasons. Yeah, LeVar said that, but I'm sure Lonzo had his own opinions. So people try to fluctuate with where they can go, and it has positive impacts for certain teams and negative impacts for certain teams. I mean, we got Jason Tatum because the Lakers were so convinced, or the Sixers were so convinced that the Lakers were going to take Lonzo at the 2, and we convinced them that we were going to take Markelle at the 1, and that's why we got the trade, the draft pick for this year, and put ourselves in a position to get Jason Tatum, one of the best young players in the league.
So answer me this: let's say the Sixers pick Lonzo Ball first that year. What happens? Like, if can Lonzo refuse to play?
I don't think Lonzo would refuse to play. I think
it's-
LeVar would make a whole spiel that would be really
but,
annoying.
I mean that sucks, but that has nothing to do with if I don't think really Lonzo. I think obviously he wants to play out.
I think Lonzo's gonna play out wherever he is, because I think if we've learned anything from Lonzo Ball in his NBA career, it's like, yeah, he has the rapping and all that stuff, which people like don't really like as much, I guess. But I think from the way he plays on the court and from how unselfish his game is, I don't see him saying no to playing anywhere. And especially with the fact that they almost traded him this year.
Yes.
All right, so another question I want to ask you guys, NBA draft-wise, is regarding the Virginia team, who has a lot of really good college players. We already talked about Hunter, but I want to talk about 2 players, Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy. These guys have been top echelon college basketball players for the past couple of years. Kyle Guy is one of the best shooters in the entire country. Ty Jerome, good shooter. He's just a good all-around 1/2. He's a good passer. He's 6'5". He's got good size. Jerome's projected to go late 20s, early second round for the draft. Kyle Guy's not on anybody's draft board. Why do you guys think that is?
Honestly, I could not tell you, because Kyle Guy, you said, is one of the best. I think he is the best shooter in college basketball. I've seen some performances from him where he thinks the basket looks like the ocean and he cannot miss at all.
He's like that Syracuse game. He was hitting all those off-balance shots.
Everything was going his way. And this kid can shoot. Ty Jerome, if he can be consistent enough, he will push Virginia to possibly the national championship game. But it's his consistency that is going to be Virginia's rise or fall. That is my personal opinion on Virginia. And I think that Kyle Guy has the potential to be an NBA player. I mean, we've talked about Kevin Huerter multiple times today. He does the same job as Kevin Huerter, run around hit threes, just push your team to the next level.
Yeah, but the difference between Herter and Guy's, Herter's a 6'7", 6'8", lengthy wing player. Kyle Guy's like 6'2", 6'3", skinny.
Right.
I think what makes
some guys are extremely different in the way that they are better college players and their game won't translate compared to guys that are NBA ready already. But I think there's a place for Kyle Guy. As I've said on previous podcasts, if you can shoot and you can get your team baskets and create your own shot and do things of that nature, you have a spot.
Yeah, I think what makes people nervous is just his inability to play defense at the next level. So I think that's where it stands on him. And you could say the same thing for a guy like Shamori Pons, who I like a lot from St. John's. He's projected to be a late second-round pick. He's been really good all season, but he's just small, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's gonna do. I like his game a lot, but God knows where he's gonna fall.
Quick shout out to LJ Figueroa, local kid, making it in St. John's right now, making splashes. Good looks.
Always like to hear that. Another player I want to talk about is Trey Jones from Yanni's Duke. I have Trey Jones as like a top 20 player in the draft. NBA Draft.net has him going 33rd to the Orlando Magic. Who do you think is right, me or NBA Draft.net?
Yeah, where did Tyus go when he was drafted? Second round. Yeah, I don't think Trey will be that late. I think a top 30 first round for sure. I guess it's hard to call what team he'd go for at that point. But,
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely not a bad player by any means. Not the best shooter in the world, not the best point guard shooter, but I think he can defend pretty well, I think.
I just think he's a smart point guard.
Yeah, very
I think
smart,
he knows
yeah.
where to put the ball.
Yeah, I think he's better than his brother, but just if let's say hypothetically he did go to the Magic, do the Magic really need a point guard
That's
right now?
exactly what the Magic need. I get it, they have Fultz, but like
And they have the
DJ Augustine.
Yeah, I mean Augustine he's been playing well recently.
He's all right.
Decent.
He's
No,
all
no,
right.
He's not by no means a great player, but
But Augustine, if you have DJ Augustine as your starting point guard in the NBA today,
he'll be better than Trey Jones.
you're not winning a game in the playoffs. You're barely making the playoffs. And matter of fact, you're only going to make the playoffs if you're in the Eastern Conference. And yeah, I do think Trey Jones, or let me rephrase that. If Trey Jones gets drafted to the Magic and if Fultz is still injured, yes, we'll see Trey Jones get significant minutes. That said, no, he's not going to be better than DJ Augustine's first year in the league. I don't see that happening.
If you put me on with any Duke players, I'm going to give the highest praise in the world. I may be a little biased at times, but Trey Jones, brother of Tyus Stones, most valuable player of the Final Four national championship team of 2015. At this point, I'm in love with Tyus Jones. He does everything. He did everything for that team, and he won them the national championship. I don't think Trey's at his level yet because Tyus was so clutch with the shots he hit in the comeback against Wisconsin in the national championship game. But Trey Jones is the best on-ball defender in the entire country, and the only person who's given him trouble this year is Kobe White, who he did lock down, but Kobe White has the ability to split double teams, and his speed is absolutely killer. Other than that, Trey Jones is shutting down teams with their best players as guards. No team has beat Duke where their best player is a guard.
So let me ask you this. So we saw Tyus being a great college player, but he's had trouble transferring some of those skills into the NBA. Is it third, fourth year in the league now? Third. Will Trey Jones have this kind of trouble too, you think?
I think just with the way he plays, there's going to be trouble at first. I think Tyus is still finding a role. He's young. He's got plenty of time. But it's just finding what they do right that's going to help. Trey is going to be a great defender. We're going to see him at the next level. I mean, obviously guys are quicker. Guys are stronger. So he's going to have a tougher challenge. If he's going to play at the next level, he has to get a consistent jump shot. That is his biggest problem at the moment. Guys in the college are just leaving him to shoot because he's not hitting them at a good clip.
He's a liability.
On the offensive end, when he has to shoot the ball, he is a liability. But he does create for everyone, and he's extremely smart, as you said. So he does those things correct. Beyond the arc, he just doesn't have it yet, and he needs that.
Yeah, I think the kicker for him and what I hope is the case is that I think he's like just a winning player. He's like one of those guys who just makes the right move, similar to what I said about guys like Miyeoni. Like he's just one of those glue guys. You know what I mean? And that's always valuable.
And the best part about him is that he doesn't care that the rest of his teammates are in the spotlight.
He wants the rest of his teammates to not
Exactly.
necessarily be in the spotlight, but he wants them to shine.
Exactly. I mean, Zion gets absurdly amount of press. He's the most
Polarizing.
That's the word I'm looking for. I mean, he has 2 million followers on Instagram. The guy draws the attention of every single person when he steps on the basketball court. And Trey Jones is probably the least talked about out of the 4 freshmen. So he doesn't get the credit that he deserves for what he does. But I truly think that he is the glue piece, as you said, to build this team together, as Tyus was with Jalil, with Justice Winslow, with the young Grayson Allen at the time. Those guys were obviously different in their ways as Zion, RJ, and Cam are, but they are similar pieces to what Tyus glued them together for.
No, that actually brings up a good point because Zion is literally the face of college basketball right now, and he was the number 2. He was number 2 in the ESPN Top 100 high school for that year. Now, do you think it's hard for RJ Barrett and especially Cam Reddish, because Cam Reddish was 3, being in kind of Zion's shadow on that team? Do you think they're accepting? I mean, that applies to Trey Jones too, but especially for those RJ Barrett, who he was number 1. So I'm wondering if you think it's hard for them living in Zion's shadow right now.
With RJ, I don't think so. I mean, we've seen RJ perform at the level that he's performing. He's had a triple-double this year. He's had a couple 30-point games. He's performing at a high clip. I think who's mostly affected is Cam Reddish. His confidence is hurt. I mean, we had a whole talk about him during the Louisville game when he sparked that comeback. But other than that, he's been inconsistent. He's had his moments, but he's had moments where I've wanted to go through the TV, rip his throat out, and just stomp on it. He's angered me to the point where I almost put a hole through my television. I was so mad at him during some of this ACC tournament games that I cannot even fathom.
And Zion was out for 5 games, and he had a few games he did really well, but some of them that was his chance to prove himself as the 3rd best player in the high school the year before, and I didn't see a lot from him. I saw I think he had a 30-point game, maybe 2 of them or something, but I didn't see a lot of what I would expect the 3rd best player in college basketball in theory to to perform.
Neither did I, and he's doing stupid things too. He's turning the ball over. He's getting this man has had the most charges taken on him in arguably the entire country. Charges per minute have to be maybe 2 charges per minute that he's on the court. It is not even possible, and he still does it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like his jump shot, but he looks flustered out there on the court a majority of the time, and I don't know how it's going to translate to the NBA, because the NBA moves faster than college basketball, and if you're drawing charges at that clip already, what's going to happen when he goes up against Marcus Smart?
And I mean, college basketball is kind of getting a little annoying with the new charge rule where if guys are in a legal guarding position, they can somehow just fall to the ground and get a charge called. I hate that rule. I think they should just play straight up defense, and old-fashioned charges should be the only charges because it's like hurting the game and hurting star players' minutes because of the 5-foul rule. So I think that aspect sucks, but Cam Reddish has to develop his game around that and know that if he puts his head down, a guy's probably going to fall to the ground. So don't be an idiot and turn the ball over 27 times doing that a game.
All right, guys, to close out, I want you guys to say who your biggest draft steal will be in this upcoming draft. And we'll start with you, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kobe White is going to be a really underrated player. I know it's not necessarily a steal since he might go in the top 10, but I think he's underlooked as could be one of the best scoring point guards in the game.
Yanni?
Local, Boston College, Kai Bowman is going to be a second-round draft pick that makes waves in the NBA. That is my pick.
I will bet a lot of money on this. Matisse Thybulle from Washington is going to be a very impactful player in the tournament this year. I see Washington going fairly far. And as I said earlier about DeAndre Hunter, we were talking about 3-and-D. Thybulle does the same thing. That kid can play. He's also got the best name in college basketball. That's my guy. Put it in the books.
So one more thing before we close out, because the game just started between Ole Miss and Oklahoma. Who do we have winning?
Oh, I got to check.
Give me Oklahoma. I just like those guys better.
I got Ole Miss. I hated everybody around Trae Young last year on that Oklahoma team. So
Yeah, I had Ole Miss too, and it's only it's 13 minutes into the first half, and Oklahoma's up 22-11. So
it's not looking good for me.
Yeah, not looking good for me either. So good luck with everyone with that.
And one last shout out, even though this isn't an NBA podcast today, Jimmer Fredette signs with the Suns. One of my favorite college basketball players of all time. I was sad his first career didn't make it in the NBA. Hoping he actually splashes this year.
Yeah, it's a 2-year deal for Fredette also, so he'll be around for a little bit, barring he doesn't get cut. Another quick thing, Red Sox got an extension with ace Chris Sale today.
Let's go.
The numbers are not out yet, but they will be in the future. You can Google it after you listen to this podcast. And that about does it for the Hoopcats. I want to thank my co-hosts, Yanni Kokoris and Matt Erb. It's always fun talking with you guys. Also, big shout out to our producer, Mr. Benjamin Strawbridge. He puts in a lot of work for us, and we appreciate him very much. Thank you guys for listening, and we will hear from you, or you will hear from us, rather, again in the near future. Hoopcats, Outcats.
Let's go, dude.